Hello and welcome back to Change Your Life. My name is Dwight Gillespie. I'm your host. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit that notification. And by all means, share it with your friends and comment below. We accept all comments. Today on Change Your Life, I want to update you a little bit. I'm 5 days into my 75 hard, and it is hard. As my friend said, I said, boy, this is hard. He says, well, I don't call it 75 soft, you know. It's been a really good experience, and I don't know when this will come out. I think this will probably come out a while from now, but this is where I am, and we're updating it. I've lost 4.5 pounds, even though I was on a diet before this. Now I'm strictly adhering to it as recommended in the challenge itself, and things are good, man. I did my workout this morning. I go to the gym after this. I do my second workout for the day. My diet is good. The water intake, all that stuff is really good. All right, today I want to talk about something because part of the 75 hard challenge, and this is why I bring this up, right, is to read 10 pages of nonfiction. And so I did this. I got this book, right? It was recommended to me, and geez, I wish I could remember. You know what? I saw it on a Joe Rogan podcast. As a matter of fact, I saw him. His name is Stephen Pressfield, and he was on a clip from Joe Rogan, and I saw it was like a 6-minute clip. And the guy sounded fascinating, and he was talking about his book, The War of Art, right? And I said, let me try that. Let me read that. And I started reading it on Monday, and I finished it Monday night because it was that good. Like I got into this thing, and I couldn't put it down. And I write, but I am what Stephen Pressfield would call an amateur, without a doubt. I'm an amateur living that shadow life. You'd have to read the book to understand. I got Walter here, a copy of the book. Walter, you going to read the book?
I promise I'll read it.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe him. Are they going to make a movie out of it? Because I'll watch it, like I don't think so. But anyway, I'm reading this guy, and I do trust Walter that he'll read it. And Walter, can I read part of this on the podcast?
You can.
He says I can.
Go for it.
If we get sued, it's all Walter's fault. Anyway, I wanted to do a thing on here, right? Because he talks about something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I think it is for most people, because I really believe that most people have this same thing, the thing that holds us back, that keeps us from really achieving. And we've talked about it a little bit on this channel, but I got to tell you, he hit it so succinctly for me that I said, oh my God, like it was a true revelation for me when I read this. And I want to read, it's like 2 pages, and then we'll discuss it, right? It says fear is the head. It says resistance feeds on fear. And resistance, by what he means by that is that voice in your head, right? That resistance to achievement, right? That resistance that tells you that when you're getting up to do your work like that you want to do. In this case, he's talking about writers specifically, but it really can be anything, right? When you get up to do that, it's that voice in your head that says, you know what, you've really earned a break. I mean, before you've done anything, like sit down, watch a movie, relax. You worked real hard this week. It's Saturday. You deserve some time, right? And so you do that, and you never fulfill all those dreams and all those goals that you have in your life. And you start to convince yourself, like, are they real? I'm not. I love this one because I have friends. Oh, I'm not materialistic. Yeah, I don't need material things. Yeah, okay. I'm not. It's not like that's my big drive. But, they make it sound like they're so above it, so pious, right? So what? If I offered you a $10 million home in Malibu, you're going to say, no, I don't need that. I'm quite well off in my 900 square foot apartment here in Queens, New York. Get the out of here, man. Come on, man. Anyway, I'm sorry. We try not to swear on this one, right? But it really is ridiculous. But that's the resistance that he's talking about. Is that voice that just keeps telling you, easy, stop, don't do it, don't achieve, don't go any further. It's that wall that you run into. And then at the end of the day, you go, well, what did I do with my day? What did I do? Like, I pissed another day away. And that was another thing we did. I remember, Walter, we did one on time. And I love talking about time because, I work with a lot of young people and I do a lot of talks in recovery surroundings and settings. And time is the most, it doesn't discriminate at all. Time doesn't give a who you are, what your sexual orientation is, your race, creed, color, religion. None of that matters. Time just keeps going. And you can sit and you can and moan and you can complain and you can say, oh, life is so unfair and all that other bullshit. And time just keeps on marching. And you can do that you can complain for 20 years. And you know what you get 20 years later? 20 years older, 20 years closer to death. And 20 more years of not realizing your dreams and your ideal of being who you were always intended to be. And if you listen to this, you know, I believe in a higher power. I believe in what I call God, for lack of a better description of it. The word seems to work for me. But it's not a religious thing, but there's a force I believe in that is there, and it wants me to succeed, and it leads me to that. But there's another force there too that doesn't want me. That's the resistance, right? So anyway, I'm going to read this, and it's about this isn't regarding fear. Resistance feeds on fear. We experience resistance as fear, but fear of what? Fear of the consequences of following our heart, fear of bankruptcy, fear of poverty, fear of insolvency, fear of groveling when we try to make it on our own, and of groveling when we give up and come crawling back to where we started. Fear of being selfish, of being rotten wives or disloyal husbands, fear of failing to support our families, of sacrificing their dreams for ours, fear of betraying our race, our hood or homies, fear of failure, fear of being ridiculous, fear of throwing away the education, the training, the preparation that those we love have sacrificed so much for, that we ourselves have worked our butts off for, fear of launching into the void, of hurling too far out there, fear of passing some point of no return beyond which we cannot recant, cannot reverse, cannot rescind, but must live with this cocked up choice for the rest of our lives. Fear of madness, fear of insanity, fear of death. These are serious fears, but they're not the real fear, not the master fear, the mother of all fears that's so close to us that even when we verbalize it, we don't believe it. And this is what really blew me away, because all that stuff, I have all those fears, right? And this is what it really was, right? And again, I want to say that this is Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. It's called The War of Art. Get this book, read this book, and take it to heart, and it'll change your life, right? Here it is. Fear that we will succeed. That's the mother of all fears, right? Fear that we will succeed, that we can access the powers we secretly know we possess, that we can become the person we sense in our hearts we truly are. This is the most terrifying prospect a human being can face, because it ejects him into one go, he imagines, from all the tribal inclusions his psyche is wired for and has been for 50 million years. We fear discovering that we are more than we think we are, more than our parents, children, teachers think we are. We fear that we actually possess the talent that our still small voice tells us, that we actually have the guts, the perseverance, the capacity. We fear that we truly can steer our ship, plant our flag, reach our promised land. We fear this because if it's true, then we become estranged from all we know. We pass through a membrane. We become monsters and monstrous. We know that if we embrace our ideals, we must prove worthy of them. And that scares the hell out of us. What will become of us? Will we lose our friends and family who will no longer recognize us? We will wind up alone in the cold void of starry space and nothing and no one to hold on to. Of course, this is exactly what happens. But here's the trick. We wind up in space, but not alone. Instead, we are tapped into an unquenchable, undepletable, inexhaustible source of wisdom, consciousness, companionship. Yeah, we lose friends, but we find friends too, in places we never thought to look. And they're better friends, truer friends, and we're better and truer to them. Do you believe me? And I put yes, see, yes. I highlight everything too in all my books. I love books. I hate Kindle. No offense to Kindle, and you can buy my Kindle book, by the way, on Amazon. Right? It's called Price Tags. But here, this is what I do. I highlight. I make notes, and in this book, if you see, I almost everything is highlighted. You know, it's just a beautiful book, and I can't talk enough about it. But that is the fear, right? And this is something that I had to come to a realization with, right? Here's a little bit of my understanding of that, right? Because I've been through it before, and we probably all have. Like, I use drugs. A lot of you, if you watch this, you know I'm in recovery. I've been in recovery for over 10 years. I've been clean for over 10 years continuously, and at the end of my using, like I looked around and like, you see all these like toothless people who don't bathe and, and they can't articulate any kind of conversation with you or anything, and I'm like, I remember looking around like, oh, what am I doing with these people? And then I took a glimpse in the mirror and it's like, oh, I get it now, like that's what I'm doing with these people. I am these people, right? And I remember being told early on, and I've known this for early on in recovery, like when I came in 39 years ago, they said, that you're an amalgamation of the 5 closest people to you. And if you're sitting around, in a parking lot somewhere behind the 7-Eleven, and it's 3:00 in the morning, and everybody's sitting and they're half passed out and everything, and you're the 5th one there, like, guess what? That's who you are. And one of the things that happened is, as I progressed in recovery, right, I came into recovery, and I guess you say water seeks its level. I talked about my friend Alphonse, who's like my mentor. They, whatever. This is a term for it in recovery. But anyway, he is a mentor to me. And he was one of the people, he was one of the first ones to say, in this process of recovery, especially if you take it seriously, you're going to outgrow people. And it's something that you have to get used to. And actually, this happens in life. And I think that this is kind of what Stephen Pressfield was talking about with this was the growth. And as you move toward this goal of getting better, not everybody is going to want to come along. As a matter of fact, everybody is going to feel their amount of resistance, And I experienced this, and it was hard sometimes because there were some good friends, and we had falling outs along the way, and people are going to take it how they want to, and a lot of people aren't going to be happy with it, and a lot, he's this, he's that. Well, that's all well and good, but I have goals. Like, that's something I didn't have when I came into the recovery process. Like, my recovery process began with me not being able to give up drugs. Like, that was it for me. And the idea of going 24 hours without putting a chemical into me was just mind-boggling to me, right? So that was my immediate concern. But as I progressed through that, as I went through the withdrawals and everything like this, and I started to work on myself a little bit, the goals start to change. Everything starts to change. If you know my story, you've seen, like, I started gaining a lot of weight. I gained a lot of weight. And I've had to deal with different addictions along the way. And Stephen Pressfield talks a lot about addiction. I'm reading another book of his, is Turning Pro, it's called. And he talks about this. But in regard to this fear, right, I never was able, I hadn't articulated that there was such a fear of success. And I talk about this because, as I said, you're gonna outgrow, you're gonna leave people behind. And that's a fact. And as you begin to achieve these goals, as you begin to achieve these great things, the true friends will still be with you. I have people that have been with me from the beginning, on this journey. And I have those that have fallen to the side that I'm surprised they have. Like, people I never thought would be out of my life that are, for one reason or another. And not all their fault either, In fact, in many cases, it's not their fault at all. The fault lies with me. Other things became a priority to me. And that's okay. I look at, like, I'll give you an example, like sports. I used to be, I watch 162 Met games a year. And I went to a ball game this year. It's the only one that I actually watched, because these things just aren't important to me anymore. Like, they've fallen to the wayside. I don't view it as being important for me. I understand where people get it. It's a distraction, and I get it, and there's a dissociation that comes with being a sports fan. You know, you live vicariously through whatever happens on the field. I guess I know I used to anyway. I would live and die with the Mets, which is a really hard thing to do. You know, like there's a lot more dying than living. You know, and same with the Knicks. We were talking about the Knicks before. Same, you know, it's you know, and I hit a point in my recovery where I said, this just isn't important to me anymore. And I had these 25-year-old superstar athletes telling me that I'm not, you know, like I'm not socially conscious enough and I should be doing easy, pal. You know, and I realized like I was doing this to be distracted. I'm doing this because I'm climbing telephone poles for a living. I'm doing a filthy job for ungrateful people, and not that they're ungrateful for me, but my company didn't always treat them the best. But I'm doing this. I'm watching sports because I don't want to be socially kind, because I don't want to be reminded of anything. I don't want to do it. You know, I just want to go and watch a ball game. You know, and it became so much more than that. And I started to become aware that I don't need this distraction anymore. That if I'm going to be distracted, like I got rid of my television, I don't watch the news. I haven't watched a news telecast in 10 years because it's not that I don't care. It's just that Stephen Covey talks about your circle of the realm that you have control over. Your circle. He doesn't call it that, but I'll call it a circle of control, like the things you can really control. And if these things are outside your control, why are you wasting your energy on it? Mental, physical, emotional, spiritual energy. Why let it dissipate on things that you have no control over? And that's really part of why I gave up sports. That and the obscene money that these guys are making to play a children's game, when quite honestly, when so many other people are hurting. But anyway, neither here nor there. But I don't do that anymore in part of this outgrowth. Now, I was with a friend, right? And he suffers sometimes. And he had purchased a car, and we were sitting, and he was living at home. He's got his family, and it's a very difficult situation for anybody to live in. And I know it because I grew up in a difficult situation to live in, right? And it makes him more neurotic and more crazy. And we were talking. It was right after he bought a new car. It was new to him anyway, we'll say, but it was a nice new used car, right? And he was like, absolutely, like, oh my God, I got to make the payments, like neurotic. And I know that I'm a neurotic person myself. He's like, I got to make these payments. And I'm like, I said, maybe leaving that house would be a good idea. And he looked, and he had this look on his face, like I was out of my mind, like I wasn't speaking English to him anymore, like he's like, leave, like there's no way I could ever do that. And why? And he said something so profound and so honest and so true. He said, what if I mess it up and I have to go home again? They'll see me as the loser I am, right? So he was already projecting the failure of moving out and having to come back, and what that would mean to these heartless, cold people that he was living with, who were waiting for nothing more than to tell him what a piece of shit he was, and that he was a failure and a loser and all these other, see, you had to come back. He's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do if I lose, like if I can't make the car payments. Like, why did I buy this car? And like it went right into this whole thing. And in that moment, I got to tell you, it made sense. Like I have this dream. I have a 5-year plan. I want to be out in California. I want, everybody's leaving California. I want to go. I want to go to Encinitas, man. I want to live there. I want to live among the people out there. And yeah, they're nuts, but they're my kind of crazy, man. These people are cool. And it's beautiful. And they live a beautiful life. Like I go out there 2 or 3 times a year and I love it, right? But here's the fear. And it's exactly what he's talking about. I'm going to have to leave everything I know here in New York behind and strike out on my own. Now, I've done this before, but on very lower levels. I came to New York by way of a psych unit, and that's not a real big change, like not a a lot of chance being taken with that. And they're like, you got to go. And I went, and they locked me up for a little while, and then I got better, like, so this is how I got here. But I have been down before, but it's funny because the only time that I've been able to really respond to that is when I have my back to the wall. I talk about it all the time. It's Christmas time right now. It's December 2nd right now. If you're curious about when we're recording this as to when it shows, it's December 2nd right now. As I said, I'm 5 days in on the 75 Hard. The Christmas is coming. And I remember the greatest Christmas I ever spent was the Christmas of 1988. And I had been released from a facility in October of that year. I got a job working at Lord & Taylor on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. It was, as a seasonal employee, and they hired me full time right after Christmas. But this was just before Christmas, and I was hooked up with this. Go read the book; it's in my book, Price Tags, that you could get on Amazon now. Anyway, so I'm living in this. It was disgusting. This place was disgusting. I had nothing. My sister had given me, my youngest sister, Julie, who I love, right, had given me a 3-legged table. Yeah. And there was a radiator that was up, this high. And it was the radiator was higher than the other legs. So I used that as the fourth leg, right? Because one of the legs was broken on the table and it kind of tilted. And I had a folding chair. And that was it. That was my furniture. And I slept in a sleeping bag, and the place was roach infested. And it was so bad. I put tape over my mouth at night because it was like that urban. You remember, Walter, that urban legend about the lady who goes with the impacted tooth, and the dentist, pokes it, and then the roaches come out, right? So I had like this thing. They're gonna lay eggs in my mouth, like ah. Which is really I hate bugs. Like, I'm a messy person, but I'm not dirty. Like, it has to. I don't keep garbage around. Like, I hoard, but I hoard really good, right? I can't hoard garbage. I never understand that. Like, what the fuck you say? Yeah. Anyway, I digress. And that was okay. Like, I could respond to that, and that was the best Christmas I ever spent because it was mine. It was mine. I was all alone. There was nobody to tell me I was such a failure. There was my whole family wasn't talking to me except for my youngest sister, Julie. God bless you. Nobody was talking to me. I was persona. And listen, I earned it. I'm not knocking them. I earned that shit. I went out of my way to make sure these people wanted nothing to do with me. And I earned my spot in that psych unit, by the way, as well, if that's any indication, right? But I was growing because it was like the first time in my life that I had accepted this is my fault. These are the decisions that I made that brought me here. But I also come from a long line of people who are very willing to tell me, you're a piece of shit, you're no good, you're just like your father, and he wasn't good either, and da-da-da-da-da. And misery loves company and all that other good, And when I finally could break free of that and do something on my own, those fears were alleviated for that period of time because I had no choice. There was no choice. It was sink or swim. It's how my father taught me to swim, by the way. He's like, hey, come on, I'm going to carry you out to there was a raft. We used to go to this place, Terrace Lake in Butler, New Jersey, right? And we go, my father took me out to the raft. He goes, okay. And he threw me off the raft. He goes, swim. And I did. Anyway, I hated swimming with my father because he thought it was great fun to see if he could hold you under the breath. What happens when all the bubbles disappear, huh? And God help you if you fart. He thinks you're breathing still, like, yeah. Anyway, again, I digress. So here it is, we're talking about fear and what happens, because not only is it a fear of I'm going to move on and I'm going to lose all these people and it's a totally new way of life and I'm going to have to find a new way out, which I've done before, right? But it's scary. But what happens when I fail? Not if I fail, but when I fail, right? Because I've convinced myself because of years of programming me this way, I'm going to fail. Like, eventually, it's going to fail, I put these videos out, and we don't have a lot of hits right now. But, Walter and we're hanging in there because I believe that the content is good. And eventually, if I hang in there, and it's a learning process for me here as well. And I believe in what we're doing here. I believe that we can help people. I believe that this is a good thing, right? And I believe in overcoming the fear. And again, the name of this book, again, is The War of Art, by Stephen Pressfield. I highly recommend this book. Highly recommend it. Go out and get it. It's one of the few books, right? How many books? The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Man's Search for Meaning. Oh, big one. This particular book. There are a few. The 4 Agreements. It's another great book. And we're going to talk about these. We're going to do different book reviews, but this is the first one, and I just wanted to read from that. It's full of insights. It's full of ways to inspire you to be who you really want to be inside. You know, as you heard me say, we live these mediocre lives, and there's no need for it. There's no need for it. You can reach for whatever it is where you find your bliss. And I know that sounds corny, but you know, it's out there for you. You go for it and feel the fear and do it anyway. That was another book I read a long time ago. I don't even remember it. Maybe I should read it again. Anyway, my name is Dwight Gillespie. This is Change Your Life, and we mean it. Change your life. Change your life. You have the power to do this. Get on with it, man. And time, which is another thing we've done. We talk about time. Time doesn't give a man. It's going to keep going, whether you reach for your dreams or not. And be mindful of the dash, right, on the headstone. It's beginning to end. Life is in the dash. Great poem. Look it up. You can Google that. GTS, as my friend Sophia would say. GTS. Google it. You'll find out. Anyway, my name is Dwight Gillespie. I wish you well. Have a great week. Come back next week. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification button so that you can be aware when we're putting these videos out. They come out on Sundays for this particular one. Start your week off right. Give you some good things to think about, right? It's for your mind grapes. It's from 30 Rock. I love that show. Anyway, be well. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.